Invitation. We give voice to people who are in the French direction, in the French domain, people who teach French, who try to impact French into especially the Nigerian space. Okay. And so we want to rub minds, we want to share our experiences, and that's why we have decided to call on you today. And thank you very much. You have accepted our invitation to rub minds with us. So first of all, I'd like to know who you are. Tell our listeners and followers who you are. Please introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Ozioma Anyawuike. I have a doctorate degree in French language and translation studies. And I am a lecturer in Nnamdi Azikiwe University Awka, Nigeria. And I'm a Nigerian from Imo State, to be precise. But I belong to the world because I'm a linguist.
Indeed. My God. Ooh, you're taking it to the new spin. Okay. I understand that. Thank you very, very much. I always ask my those I invite for the interview. I always ask them, how did you discover French, or how did French discover you? How did it start for you?
Okay. Mine is a very funny story. The year I was to go into the university, I took the JAM. I wanted to study law in Abia State University. And being a state university, and I wasn't from that state, the state universities, they do more of indigenous issues. They reserve some courses for their indigents. So I was denied admission into law, but I was given French. Now I had no background whatsoever. Meanwhile, my first contact with French was in my junior secondary. I was taught by a core member, Diana Ajimo. She's in United Kingdom right now. And she was so passionate with it that I fell in love with the French, but she left and we had no other person to continue. But I actually took French in junior YEC, which I got an A in. So, but because there was no continuation in the senior secondary, I had to abandon it. So I got admitted into the university to study French. My first year, because it was a 5-year course, 1 year preliminary courses, and then the 4-year actual course. So the preliminary courses, I ran away from the school. I wasn't attending lectures because I felt intimidated by classmates who came down from Togo, Ivory Coast, Benin Republic, and the way they were speaking their French, I was intimidated. Little did I know that they were speaking street French, not academic French.
Indeed.
Being a novice in that area, I was scared. I couldn't cope with it. I skipped classes until the then HOD of the department, by name Professor Kate Ndokuba, she sent for me and had a discussion with me and made me realize that whatever it is, I can surmount it. I picked interest in the French, paid keen attention to classes, and well, I graduated with a second class upper. I was among the top 5 in my set. I continued to do my master's. I was the first person in my set to obtain a master's degree in French. And funny enough, my undergraduate course rep, I had to teach him when he came for master's, actually. He was my student.
He became your student. Wow. Fantastic.
I had to tutor him in translation when he came for his master's in Nnamdi Azikiwe University. And then ever since then, I've fallen in love with the language because I told myself that, come on, what is worth doing is worth doing. It wasn't an easy journey, having to face every other person who could speak it. At a point, I even had to go to Benin Republic. I had to live for some months on my own in Benin Republic just to immerse myself in the language. It was fun. It was educating. It was an eye-opener. But then I realized that there are lots of limitations when it comes to motivating people to go into the language. Okay, there are a lot of mitigations here and there. I'll give you an example. As a lecturer, you find out that I don't know if this is proper, but definitely I believe you will edit this letter. Before now, students in my department used to travel to Togo for their language immersion program. But as usual, the politics in Nigeria and in the Nigerian universities came up. Okay. The current Director General of French Village, I wouldn't call his name. The current Director General went around universities convincing vice chancellors to send the students to Nigerian French language village. I do not have an issue with that. But being that I passed through that institution, I realized that 70% of the time, the lecturers, they don't encourage the students to speak. You see everybody conversing in their native language. They only use French in the classroom only. And when there are academic activities, outside that, every other person speaks their Yoruba, Hausa, Jukun, whatever language you have. But when the students go to Togo, you find out that you cannot communicate in their own native language. So the only way you can communicate is to speak the French. Bite your tongue, however, speak, they will laugh at you and correct you, and you learn. And that was, I noticed the difference between the students that attended, that went to Togo, and the ones that stopped going to Togo. The difference was quite clear. Okay. And then aside that, you find out that those of us who are into the teaching aspect, we lack the resources or the means to be retrained by experts. Okay, before then, the French embassy used to assist with educational materials and the rest of that, scholarships. 3 months, they take lecturers over to France, Bordeaux, and the rest of them, train them, and they come back. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen anymore in Nigeria. I don't know why it stopped. Okay, and currently there are a lot of persons in the language sector, French to be precise, because all around Nigeria we are surrounded by French-speaking countries, north, east, and west. Okay, but you find out that Nigeria is not making French language a priority. They are not making it a priority. In the terms of security, you find out that these bandits, the Boko Haram elements, when they come in, they communicate and they pass their messages via radio in French. And our soldiers they don't understand French. They only know English and their native language. So these people pass messages right under their nose without them knowing that our enemies are communicating. Because we downplayed the essence of French language. In my CV, you saw that I was a naval instructor at Nigerian Naval Engineering College. I was practically teaching the Navy ratings and officers French. It got to a point, an officer called me some time ago that, oh, they sailed to one French country, either Cote d'Ivoire or so. Because of the French I taught him, he was the one that was able to communicate between the Nigerian ship and the other people, the other Navy. He became the liaison officer. With the little French he could speak, and he was outstanding in it. It made him special. And since then, he hasn't stayed for long in Nigeria. He's always selling from one place to another. Okay, it became an avenue for him to expand. So some persons don't actually have the experience of coming into the French. They don't have it as a good one. When you sit with the current crop of students who are studying French, you find out that most of them wanted to study law, history, or one course or the other, but ended up finding themselves in French. And you see that there are no motivations for them to pick interest in it. Some of them will tell you, oh, we just want to have this certificate and graduate, and then go dump it and do one thing or the other. There is no love for the language. Bad experiences here and there. It is out of 100, you only find 2% who actually put French. And you see that they always have the interest. They show the outstanding interest. And of course, they're always the top 5 in the class. They have outstanding interest for the language. So when it comes to coming across the French language, there is not enough publicity, both from the government, institutions, and of course, the mother, France.
Okay.
You find out that there is limited publicity.
Okay, thank you very much. I know because it's true that listening to you and there's a lot of things that are working well, from the government side. And you've mentioned also that Nigeria is surrounded by francophone countries, and we are not making that effort just because of our population. We'll just believe that we don't need these guys, because you understand, which is very wrong. It's very wrong, especially this area of military, connections and all that, where people come in and speak their own, speak French, and you don't hear what they're saying, and they're almost selling you on the spot, you see. So it's very, very important to learn French, because I know that, but so far, I mean, are there good sides? Because you painted a very crazy picture of, how difficult things are. I mean, tell me there are good sides. What are they, please?
Yes, there are enormous good sides. The good side is that once you come out of it good, there are endless possibilities. There are no limitations once you study the French well. Most people just see French as, oh no, once I finish the French, I will become a teacher. But I am seated. I sit today to tell people that studying French doesn't limit you to teaching alone. There are endless possibilities. You could be a translator, you could be an interpreter, you could be a proofreader, you can do voiceover. There are endless possibilities there. And of course, the world has gone global. We've moved over to technology. Okay, you don't need to be somewhere else. You don't need to migrate from one point to another. You could be in the comfort of your bedroom and work and put your language to good use. I trained myself through the master's degree with translation services. Completely. That was what I used in training myself for my master's degree. I was doing translation services, and I made a lot of money from it. So it is an avenue that is well paid.
This is great. I now you're making me smile, because of course you painted a very grim picture of how things are bad in Nigeria, but now we are looking at also the possibilities of French. Okay, so now because a lot of our followers also want to know how they can grasp this language, because a lot of them find it difficult when they are learning the language. They find it very difficult either to speak, to read, or to write. It's very difficult. Imagine you're a lecturer now. What is your own method? How do you impact French into somebody who wants to learn French? Maybe within 3 months. What are those things you need to do? What are the go areas that, hey, focus on this, do this. If you really want to study this language, do it. Let's hear from now, because this is my first time I'm talking to a doctor in French. Be careful. So everybody's ears are open.
Okay, this question is quite timely, because I just coached someone who will be leaving for Morocco on the 14th of this month. I coached her in 3 months. She wrote A1 and A2 and passed them. It was a requirement. French, Delph A1 and A2, and she passed both of them. A novice in French. She passed A1 and A2, and she's on her way to Morocco. She'll be
so
on her way
give us this. Just hit the
now the method I use the high.
Somebody who wants to learn French from you, okay? What are the processes, and how do you teach the person French? What do you start with? Is it the listening, the reading, the speaking, the writing? What are the first steps? And then from there you take it to the next level. What do you do first?
Elicit interest first, because if there is no interest, no matter whatever method you use, the person would never learn. But once you elicit the interest, you now start up, you definitely have to come up with, I go as far as using French songs to teach, all right? I give texts to read. I encourage simple conversations, basic conversations, creating conversations with objects around us, with environments, our daily routines. That way, the candidate becomes comfortable with the simple French words that are easily available. Okay, not the kind of French that master's persons and PhD persons speak. Once you start from the basic, look for those fun side of the language, because every language has the fun side. Okay, you start from the fun side and not from the difficult side of jumping into teaching grammar, teaching verbs, adjectives, and the rest of that. No. Start from the basic ABCD, the songs, because the human mind is quite retentive. When you teach with pictures, with songs, you find out that it strikes the person's memory. And when you now go into the main action, you find out that the person is flowing smoothly. Okay, it's not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched. Definitely, you will inculcate comprehensions. The person would have to read, because language is three-pronged or four-pronged. You have orals, you have written, you have listening, and you have comprehension. You must factor in these four aspects without missing anyone. That way, you find out that gradually the person picks interest, and then you divest into grammar, the real grammar, where you start with present tense, past tense. You don't have to go complicating issues. You start with the basic ones, and you graduate on a slow and steady pace. Intermittently, you bring in the fun parts to bring the person back, because the student I handled at a point, she said to me, "Monsieur, you make it look so easy, as if French is not difficult." I said, French is not difficult. Language in general is not difficult. If I give you text, look for a song, singing it as a song, and it goes into your head. When you come across such words again, you find out that it's quite easy for you to, regurgitate it and put it into good use. Okay, so there is no rocket science in teaching the language. You start from the basics, the rudiments. Now, when a mother gives birth, for those of us here down in Nigeria, you find out that mothers, when they want to rock the baby to sleep, there are folklores, there are songs, that are applied. Now, as you sing those songs, it goes to the memory of the baby, the child, whoever it is, without the person even repeating it. But once the person hears that song somewhere else, from nodding of head to tapping of feet to one day opening their mouth to speak, that is just how simple it is.
Indeed. So you're telling me that the first thing is sound, okay? The sound of the language. You need to listen. Okay, very important. Just like the way we all learned our mother tongues, we listen to our parents, and then after a while we start bringing our words, right? So sound is very necessary, and then repetition is also very necessary. So fantastic. Thank you very, very much for the time. I don't know if you want to add something else, but it has been a pleasure listening to you, and all the things you've said. It's an eye opener. I see the difficulties and also the good sides of being able to speak French in Nigeria. I think that there's a lot of possibilities for those who want to learn this language. The possibilities are enormous. It's even more today because of internet, or thanks to internet, you can get jobs now around the world. You're no longer focusing on Nigeria alone. You can now spread your talent to any part of the world, especially the fact that you speak French and English. I mean, the sky's the limit. Do you agree?
Yes, definitely. I agree with you totally.
Okay.
I agree with you totally.
Okay. Thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. So I hope I'll see you next time.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me the platform to speak to viewers out there and bearing my mind as it is, undoctored. Though a doctor, but I'm bearing my mind undoctored.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Thank you very much.